watch.
This agenda and this movement towards a transition, what has that meant for typical traditional fossil fuel companies, oil companies?
Well, I think it's meant that they find that there's more issues that they have with investors in terms of people want, who's going to invest in it. It's also a question of access to capital from international financial institutions. So it means that I think there's obviously a problem of underinvestment on a global basis when you look at kind of the economic growth that's ahead in the next few years.
You're right. I mean, oil stocks were 5% of the S&P 500 last year. It used to be much higher than that. But I want to get your take on the supply-demand situation right now. How would you assess supply-demand, and what does that mean for prices?
Right now, and it's reflected in the fact that gasoline prices are down considerably from where they were just a few months ago. Right now, the oil market is well supplied, probably oversupplied, and that reflects weakening economic activity around the world. And the fact that China has been out of the game. But when China comes back, I think we're going to see a tighter market.
Well, we keep saying that when China comes back. I mean, the CCP said that they are going to reopen, but we're yet to see actual evidence of a robust reopening. Is that happening?
It's obviously not going to happen overnight because reopening means a lot of people get COVID and still the economy. But I think what we see just in terms of commodity movements to China, the orders have started up again, and there is that sense of momentum.
Well, you're right that energy security is national security, and I totally agree with that. Let's talk about that and your thoughts in terms of, is there enough oil to actually mean national energy security and national security?
But the big revolution, which is now just taken for granted in the United States, is we are essentially energy independent, which seemed 8 presidents said we have to be energy independent. It seemed impossible. We've done it and achieved it now. So, but I think long term, where's the growth going to be? It's going to be in the 80% of the people who live in emerging markets. And so I think that question of investment that you raised is going to continue to be a question, and we'll see go through cycles.
What will it take for investors to see an expected return?
I think it probably, we've seen obviously return. The stocks that whole equity are doing better.
Huge. Last year they were the best performing group.
Yeah. So I think over time, as they become more comfortable, and I think realizing that the kind of ESG really needs to be redefined, and what you've said about energy security is back on the agenda. It cannot be assumed away.
Yeah, you're right. Do you expect a recession this year? And if we were to see a real slowdown, doesn't that mean oil prices go lower?
Well, I think, if I look at our PMIs, which measure what people think, we've already seen the slowdown. It's already here. The general consensus now that it's in the first part of the year. But that's why one reason gasoline prices are where they are and not where they were 3 or 4 months ago when there was a lot of agitation about them. So I think the commodity prices is already reflecting the slowdown.
Okay, so do you think we see much of a change in the price of oil and gas this year?
Well, I think in the second half, particularly with China full throttle again, I think we'll see those prices come back. And they're still not, they haven't collapsed by any means. If you look at the average price for the international barrel, it's still in the mid-80s.
Yeah. Dan, what do you want to say about this agenda and the policy and politics around investing in oil? I mean, there's a real push out of the administration to shut down lending on fossil fuel companies, eliminate or lessen usage of it.
Well, what I hear, and this is what I really heard from the emerging markets and developing countries, they say, we need that investment. We need that natural gas pipeline so people are not cooking with wood, so women are not spending 3 hours a day gathering wood for indoor cooking. And so I find this rising tone from the developing countries saying, we have to be part of this discussion too, and we need that finance.
Yeah, but they're not part of the discussion right now, right?
Well, I think I feel that process is changing, and I've been part of the dialogue, and I can feel that they're getting, it's becoming stronger because they say we want to, our voice has to be heard in this too. And we have, yes, there's a climate priority, but we have other priorities called economic growth, reducing poverty, and better health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think you make a really important point in terms of the process. This doesn't happen overnight, and in the meantime, virtually everything we're doing in our daily lives require fossil fuels.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I did in the new map was looked at energy transitions. They don't happen overnight, and they don't happen in a quarter century either. They take longer, and there's lots of technology that isn't there yet. And by the way, we're going to have another problem, which we'll be talking about in years ahead, which is minerals, access to things like copper, lithium, and those things that are, and we're going to see the price. You've just seen how copper prices have started to go up again on the opening of China.
So why do you think we're going to have a problem with that? Because China's buying up all of these minerals?
Well, I think because it's been hard to invest in mines, and I think it's really, to open a new mine, including permitting, could take 16 to 25 years.
Wow.
So it's not something, it takes much longer than oil and gas.
Well, part of that is the regulatory environment.
Yeah, and I'm talking around the world. I mean, everywhere, when we did this big study on copper, whatever country we're talking to, they said permitting is a huge problem.
That's only going to send inflation higher because copper is used in everything from building a home to your car.
Yeah, I think so. I think what one should expect is that, in fact, the price of these inputs are going to go up because the demand, I mean, an electric car uses 2.5 times more copper than a conventional car.
Wow, good point. So it sounds like you don't think inflation has peaked, by the way.
Well, I think in the near term, I think it has. But I think that you're going to have, with all this investment and requirements, an upward inflationary. I mean, if I look again at our PMIs, we see a moderation in inflation for now, but I think you're building in a kind of different kind of inflation into the infrastructure.
All right, Dan, we'll leave it there. It's great to talk with you. Thanks so much.